Today, we're looking at Noodler's Summer Tanager. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Noodler's Summer Tanager is an orange ink. And to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this kind of pink line across the bottom. It was immediately put into water, but that pink line is very pronounced and there. Now we do get some pink that pushes up. We then get the orange and a very highlighter yellow across the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that pink line is darker and more there. The orange pushes up in largely the same way, and the yellow pushes up in largely the same way, making me really say that I think that pink is going to be a hang-around kind of color. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself very well. That extra fine is about a fine after it's been highlighted, but there's no real blowout. The only moment that we get it is in the dot of the eye. Otherwise, I feel safe using this in a note-taking situation. My suspicions were confirmed when I looked at what happened with water. It removed all colors except that pink that we saw at the bottom of the chromatography. That pink is still very much there on the paper. It's not budging. And we have a lot of the same problem on pen flush. Now, pen flush is lightening up that pink. It does make me feel that pen flush is going to be able to break that pink up enough inside your pen that that's all that's going to be needed. Now, yes, we're not seeing the white of the paper come through. However, it's breaking up the pink as compared to the water, which makes me feel that's all I'm going to need. 1/3 bleach solution, as is common, has completely obliterated this ink, removing it from the paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Summer Tanager has a viscosity of 4. Wow, that's a dry, dense ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Summer Tanager has an average dry time of 16 seconds, which is normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. The 1.1 I'm getting bleeding very heavy into the page. It's not bleeding through, it doesn't touch the page underneath, but it is certainly very heavy. This is an orange ink, and I'm getting show through, so it's seeping deep into this page. Now the 1.1 has no spread, and it has tiny feathering all over it. It's amazing. See if we can need a better lens. I can't get you to focus and see it. It's just tiny feathers. Looking at the L on Noodlers, looking at the M's on Summer. Amazing. On Clairefontaine, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the 1.1. The extra fine is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Performs perfectly well there. 5 seconds dry, very fast. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no real shading, none. There's one spot that looks darker, and that's the K in quick. 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any. In a smear test, you can't smear this. Sorry. Yeah, you can't. Sorry, you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. So Tomoe River, and here's the thing. Look at the 1.1 again. It is seeping super deep into the page. It's not bleeding through, but it is deep in that page. A lot of show through. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. 8 seconds to dry. The medium, now this was me being sloppy, that wasn't it spreading. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia. Coming through on the extra or on the 1.1. Now that got curious for me because I took my notes with a Pierre Cardin President, medium nib. Should be fine. So we turn the page. This is a juicy pen. Holy moly. And then that makes me think on the, it didn't touch the page underneath, but oh my goodness. Look at that. And it makes me wonder about this. So, there's that to consider. So there's some bleeding, but not bleed through. It's bleeding deep into the page. And, the show through is not bad there. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. 5 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In a smear test, you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. White lines paper. Now, this is not really made for fountain pens, but it does bleed through. It does touch the page underneath. It has so much show through, you could not use the back of the page. I should say it only touched the page where the 1.1 was, though. It didn't do it for the medium or the extra fine. The 1.1 has spread, has feather, has no halo, no sheen, no shade. It's bad. The extra fine has no spread, but has tiny feathering around in certain areas, not all areas. It's not horrible. No halo, no sheen, and no shade. 2 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both, actually the scrubby of the extra fine shows none. The scrubby of the medium shows some color variation, but we got none up here anywhere. The smear test, you can't smear this ink on this paper. Apica notebooks. Now this paper, I love it. It performs great. And it had bleed through on the 1.1. Not all the way through. It's very significant bleed into the page. A lot of show through going on. Not as bad on camera as in person. This is an orange ink. I love orange inks. The 1.1 has feathering. On the Noodlers, L-E-R-S, all feathered. On the Tanager, from the N all the way to the R, feathering. No halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 4 seconds to dry. The medium is about the same tone as the 1.1. I want to say it's a hair darker, but it doesn't actually look a tone darker. Could just be those thicker lines and the illusion that plays. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation. And a smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Strathmore calligraphy paper. Lots of spotting in the extra fine and the 1.1, but the medium did pretty good. Weird. No real show through, but a lot of spotting where it's bleeding quite deep into the page. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine
slightly lighter tone than the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, but it's drying so fast. We got no color variation up here. And the smear test, you could definitely recover if you smeared. I don't even think you could smear while you were writing. That is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Summer Tanager, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page, and I wanted a very nice blue. I chose Krishna's Orchios. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Noodler's Summer Tanager? I think this is a very aggressive ink. And in anything other than a fine or an extra fine with a medium to dry flow, this ink is too aggressive for me to use because of its ability to seep in and through a lot of papers. With that, if you're a broad nib user, you really might want to avoid using this ink. Thanks for watching.